Alright, we are back with myself on coverage again. Now, those of you who've been watching for a while know that I don't like covering my own games, but it is what it is. I'm playing Ricardo, a pretty damn good player, really is. And both of us are playing decks that have kind of fallen out of favor these past few months. I myself am on niv-mizzet as always. And Ricardo is playing the blue-black Asmore food deck. I can't even say blue-black. I'm not even gonna try and pronounce Asmore. But I'm sure there's gonna be people in the comments saying, "Oh yeah, no, it's just," and then they pronounce it. I don't know what it is, but people who know how to pronounce Asmore's full name feel this urge. They feel compelled to just spout it out every time somebody says Asmore. They're like, "Oh yeah, you mean blah, 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 blah." I'm not gonna try it, but they like they're driven to just blurt it out, just show you, like, "Hey, I can do this." I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Anyway, we have a pretty decent start from Ricardo here, having a turn 1 Asmore, turn 2 Cookbook, swinging in for 3. Myself just setting up mana for now. Passing turn, that's not ideal. Ricardo unfortunately has the Oval Chase Daredevil in hand. Now, for those of you who don't know or don't remember what's happening here, you tap the Cookbook, you discard the Oval Chase Daredevil, which makes a food. Then, because the food comes in, you can add Oval Chase Daredevil back to your hand, and you have basically you can keep making food without actually going down in cards in hand, which is a pretty powerful engineing, just creating a bunch of food tokens, which you can then use with either Asmore to just start shooting creatures, or with something like Ursa Saga, make a construct, and then the construct gets fed, and it gets fed real hard. Like, you really beef that boy up. But yeah, kind of fallen out of favor, which is strange, because what the deck is doing is still pretty powerful. It's just not quite a Dragon's Rage Channeler or a Shirtless Agent. I mean, it's an Ursa Saga deck, but yeah, it's just kind of showing that Ursa Saga in and of itself is not strong enough to actually carry you through the format. Which I've been saying that for a bit, but people were really high on Ursa Saga, and it does a lot. Yeah, it really does. I'll never deny that it doesn't have a lot of text on it, but it's not the overpowering, overbearing card that some people would have you believe. But definitely nice when you're already making a food every turn, potentially 2 if Ricardo manages to get a second Cookbook into play. We'll have to see how that pans out. Utopia Sprawl going on the snow-covered forest. Now, normally I'd say red, but in this case, like later into the turn, I'm not so sure about that. I think it's either on white or black. Yeah. So I'm pretty sure what we're seeing here is a Kaya's Guile, which like the combo with Cookbook and Oval-Chase Daredevil is really strong, but you have to discard the Oval-Chase Daredevil as a cost to activate, which means that before you get the artifact and can pick up the Daredevil, you have just a small window of opportunity to exile your opponent's graveyard. Maybe exile an Asmore off the Kaya's Guile as well. Yeah, there we go. Now the Daredevil isn't coming back. Also worth mentioning that whatever you sacrifice off the Kaya's Guile is then also exiled. As cards like that always resolve in the order that it is printed, which usually isn't relevant, but in the case of Kaya's Guile, very often is. Especially when you're edicting something away. So that is going to turn off the Cookbook engine for now. It's going to get rid of the Asmore. And on my side of the field there is 4 mana, so 1 more land, and we are potentially looking at dropping niv-mizzet, which could be really scary. Ricardo looks like does have another Daredevil and what looks like an island. But yeah, that Daredevil is gonna make some food here. It's just Ricardo isn't doing anything with the food right now. That's the problem. 1, 2, 3, 4. No, just 2. Oh no, 4. Yeah. Gonna play an Omnath. It's gonna draw me a card. Now Omnath, you don't know what that does, then you've most likely been playing mostly Legacy or Vintage these past few months. But, yeah, just a really strong card. Gonna gain some life. Can make some mana, but Ricardo also gaining some life right now. I think he's at 17. Yeah, because you gain 3 life from a single food. Right. Yeah, Omnath, when it comes into play, draw a card. Then the first time a land comes into play during the turn, you get 4 life. The second time, you get his mana cost as mana, and then the third time you deal 4 to each opponent and each planeswalker you don't control. So, pretty good. Unfortunately, 4 mana after fetching is going to activate Fatal Push. Now, I have to think about this one for a bit, because I could have, in response, fetched and made mana, I think. But I decided not to. This game was played a while back, so I think I do have Niv. Yeah, I think I could have just fetched, right? Oh, no, I couldn't. Oh, yeah, Wooded Foothills doesn't get me a black source, which means I don't actually have black mana to play the niv-mizzet that I believe I saw in my hand. Which is fair. Omnath making all colors of mana except black, which can be really awkward, especially when you already have almost all of your fetchable black sources in hand. I mean, on the field. But Ricardo deciding to cast the Daredevil, which is now going to get Vanishing Verse, which means it's also in exile. Just a complete blowout here. Now, I get why he put it on the field, because making a bunch of food wasn't really doing much. Now, of course, Ricardo draws Urza Saga. Now, a bunch of food sounds fantastic, but 2 of your Daredevils are in exile. That's the way you want to be. Meanwhile, I'm sitting here, not really doing anything. Counting my mana, seeing if I can do a bunch more. Gonna fetch. Gonna shock. I'm pretty sure this is gonna be Niv time. And this is pretty much where Niv wants to be. Just get a bunch of mana, play a Niv, or just hardcast a Tybalt. That works too. And, okay, the Tybalt gets Metallic Rebuked. That's fair. It's still definitely in favor of Niftalite. Niftalite, when it comes to top decking, is probably the better deck, I would imagine. Like, Ricardo's deck isn't the worst at top decking, but like, you're up against just a full-on mid-range deck. Like, that kind of top decking is... It's just a bit out of your league, I'd say. I mean, what Ricardo is doing is probably also... You could describe as mid-range, but it's more combo-y mid-range, I feel. But... I don't know, maybe I'm talking out of my ass. I mean, I'm definitely talking out of my ass. But... Yeah. This game, if this Nif ever played... And again... Well, it's not getting played here. Is it because I'm playing around a Metallic Rebuke? It's possible I'm just trying to play around another Rebuke. Trying to think about how I'm tapping my mana. Yeah, I'm pretty sure the Utopia Sprawl's on white, which means white-green on the downside there, and then double green? Oh no, because of the Abundant Growth, right. So, Nif comes in, and we get Brennan 6, Assassin's Trophy, we get a Lightning Helix, we get an Unmoored Ego, and a Teferi Time Reveler. Yeah, this game's over. This game is over. Because now I just played a 6/6 flyer and drew 5 cards. And meanwhile, Ricardo is probably just... He's probably still hovering like a Metallic Rebuke. Maybe at some point he draws another Daredevil. He eats a bunch of food, but I really don't see a winning line here. Like, you're making constructs, absolutely. But they're gonna shrink. Actually, no, they're not gonna shrink. Probably gonna be Teferi and an Assassin's Trophy and just completely ignore everything that Ricardo's doing here. Actually, did I miss a bunch of damage? I feel like I missed a bunch of damage. Not sure. But Ricardo seems to think he's at 10, so I'll just put him at 10. Which would put him dead on board, right? I think that puts him dead on board even with a Metallic Rebuke in hand. Because you swing with Niv. You Lightning Helix, that's 9. And then Brennan 6 -1. So unless Ricardo gets either double rebuke or he finds, oh no, wait, he can always eat food, right? He just has more food. You could potentially gain 3 life this turn and then 3 life next turn. And I believe normally these decks play Shadow Spear these days as just a one-off Ursa Saga target that you can then put in a construct and get a bunch of life. Just pretty decent equipment, but I don't think Ricardo's actually playing Shadow Spear. Instead gets Pyrite Spellbomb. And 1 mana is gonna snuff out the Niv. 1 black discards Dark Slick Shores and then just straight up kills Niv. Pretty good card, absolutely. I mean, if you're already discarding cards because you're playing Cookbook, you want to discard cards because you're playing Asmore, then yeah, Snuff Out is just straight up better than than something like Fatal Push. Well, in most cases, better than Fatal Push. As Ricardo has decided, he's gonna open a bag of M&Ms. Hashtag not sponsored. And I even remember this conversation because Yip, who was working the evening, came up and asked us if we wanted to order something to drink. And Ricardo was like, yeah, you got some M&Ms? Now, I'm just sitting there like, wait, you can drink M&Ms? He was like, yeah, man, I'm really thirsty. I'm gonna drink the shit out of those M&Ms. So Ricardo right now is drinking his M&Ms as he's playing Emery. Emery, Milling, what is that? Street Wraith, a Thought Monitor, another Emery, and a Scalding Tarn. That's not the best. I mean, he can cast the Thought Monitor next turn, and I think that's the only artifact he actually has in his graveyard right now. But, yeah, this game is not entirely over, but it's getting there. It's getting there. Constructs just getting obliterated 1 by 1. We are both still at 10. That's... I want to say it's anyone's game at this point, but I would say it's definitely in my favor. Omnath definitely helps. Gonna draw a card. Gonna gain some life. Are we gonna see the mana mode being used? I do have a lot of cards there. I think there's a Supreme Verdict in hand. That's probably not the best card for me to be playing right now, but I do still have Unmoored Ego, I have Lightning Helix, I have Renin 6. We are, in fact, going to see the mana mode. And I think Ricardo just realized that this is not happening, and we're going to game 2. Alright, game 2 with Ricardo on the play on a mulligan to 6. Though that deck is definitely fine with mulligans. Both these decks, these kind of grindy decks, are definitely comfortable mulliganing. Because you don't need a lot. You mostly need top decks and not fall behind by too much. Not too much. You can fall a little bit behind. turn 1 Asmore again for Ricardo here. And you're also just fine. You're also just fine just mulliganing to an Asmore. Or maybe a cookbook with a Daredevil. It's fine as well. Looks like we also got a cycle off the Street Wraith. Got a draw of the Bauble. Yeah, despite a mulligan, I think Ricardo is just in a fine spot to keep playing this. That's a long pause there, my friend. Why aren't you playing that land? That's not a good sign. Yeah, when the Niv deck is thinking about its land, well, is it that long? Like, that's not what you want. That's not what you want. Meanwhile, Ricardo continuing to drink his M&Ms. Full on display here. Well, if anyone at M&M Corporation, I have no idea what that corporation's called, but if anyone over there is watching my channel, it's, let's be honest, they're probably not. But if you are, I hope you enjoyed the free advertising. Oh, and there we go. So, my fetch was Overgrown Tomb into Utopia Sprawl. You know, I really should start marking down these Utopia Sprawls, because I'm not making it easy on myself. Not at all. And again, I've been considering actually cutting the Utopia Sprawls again. Like, yeah, they're fine. You can do some trickery with them, but just being locked into a color is more trouble than I think it's worth. But there's definitely no consensus on whether or not that's actually a thing. So, aggressive shocking from my end. Ricardo is gonna make 2 food. As Asmore gets bounced to hand by the Teferi. Which normally wouldn't be that effective for a 1 mana 3/3, but this is a 1 mana 3/3 that you can only cast it after you discard it, which means that Ricardo will have to discard, of course. He can and he will, thanks to double cookbook and a Daredevil. So we're gonna have to wait and see here. Okay, so this sprawl looks like is on blue in order to cast Fairy. And again, just in the tank. What am I doing here? What am I waiting for? There is a Niv. I believe I saw a Kaya's Guile before. That Guile is probably going to be quite relevant. Missing a land drop, it looks like. And then the Guile is going to get rid of the Daredevil, so that is a good thing. Because that would have been a lot of treasures. I mean, not treasures, what am I talking about? A lot of food. I mean, there's still a lot of food. There's 3 food tokens. There's 2 cookbooks, and now there's a construct, which means there's a 6/6 construct on the field right now. Potentially 7/7 if Ricardo decides to make another one in response to this saga trigger. Looks like he is, yeah. So now there's 2 7/7s in play, and that's kind of dangerous. It looks like, aside from exiling the graveyard, I also made a 1/1 flyer. That's probably going to be quite helpful in a moment. Now, I think that Kaya may have been the draw after playing the fairy, because if it wasn't, I think it would have been better to just just edict the Asmore and then exile the graveyard. Yeah, just a unfortunate drawing order, I think. Gonna get Mishra's Bauble off the saga. That's interesting. Now, the construct is coming after the fairy, and I decide to block. I think, in hindsight, that was a mistake. Because now I'm just open for a lethal attack. Yeah, I think if I don't answer one of these constructs, I just punted the game right here. So I need something. Assassin's Trophy coming out. I would assume going after... No, going after Urza's side. I'm an idiot. I'm an idiot. I just straight up punted game 2. Alright, that's a thing. Let's see if Ricardo sees it. And let's see if we go to game 3. If we are going to game 3, we might have some time issues. Assassin's Trophy on top. Isn't gonna matter. Do I have something in hand to save me here? Because it feels like I just gave Ricardo the game. I can't quite see what's in hand. Maybe a Fatal Push? There might be a Metallic Rebuke in Ricardo's hand, so I do have the answer for a construct, but it's not going to resolve. Yeah, I think I was just too focused on the future that I just didn't consider the here and now. That's a Metallic Rebuke, right? I think it is. Urza getting discarded, so now there's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 artifacts. I'm gonna play Asmore. Get another cookbook. Yeah, I'm pretty sure Ricardo just has the read on me having something. But no reason to care. Again, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 artifacts in play. That is Metallic Rebuke. Gonna end the Fatal Push plan. And we're going to game 3. Yeah. Yeah, game 3. Game 3, I'm going to be on a mulligan to 6. Ricardo keeping 7. And at this point, timing around is going to be consideration. Now, for these videos, as you might have noticed, I cut out the dead air in sideboarding. But this, I believe, is about 40 minutes into the round, which means that this game is going to have to conclude in about 10 minutes. With these two decks, it's not impossible, but it usually means that the food deck wins, just with an incredible start. And again, we get a turn 1 Asmore from Mr. R. Kelly here. And Utopia Sprawl, again being played. I think it's on red this time. Another reason why I hate Utopia Sprawl. But we'll have to see what the plan is here. Abundant Growth. Draw a card. 12 mana floating is probably not going to be used. Land drop for the turn? Land drop for the turn is going to fetch. And is going to cast Birds of Paradise. Alright. Let's see what we got here. We have Urza Saga. I'm gonna put down the cookbook. Okay, the fetch was a breeding pool. And Thoughtseize from Ricardo here. Yeah, to be fair, these life totals go pretty fast. Like, Ricardo already at 13, I'm already at 16. Ricardo has a 3-3 in play and is going to get rid of my niv-mizzet with a Kolaghan's Command still in hand. I just missed what the other card was. Swing down to 13. So with a couple minutes on the clock, this is definitely going to be a fast game. Godless Shrine coming in tapped. Kolaghan's Command still in hand. Ricardo gonna make a food. Kolaghan's Command, I think, is going to take out Cookbook and make Ricardo discard a card with... I think the idea is with Daredevil still in the graveyard. Now, I remember there being some confusion about this, yeah. As I'm pointing out, I'm playing the Kolaghan's Command with the Daredevil in the graveyard, and then the Daredevil comes back. Yeah. There we go. We figured it out. Yeah, because making your opponent discard a card of his choice when there's an Oval-Chase Daredevil in his hand, yeah, that doesn't sound like a winning line. Not even close. But getting rid of the Cookbook, Ricardo also discarding a Street Wraith. Now, that's not the worst for him. But the Cookbook is a bit of an awkward discard there. Bit of an awkward loss there, not a discard. It got shattered. It's just it apparently was made of glass because Asmore dropped it and it just splattered into a million pieces. I don't know what I'm talking about. Just like we talked about this. I am talking out of my ass. Welcome to my channel. Enjoy your stay. Alright, we have Construct. We have Yorion added to my hand. So, probably not a lot going on there. I mean, I have a Plains and a Godless Shrine, so I'm pretty set on those colors. My color screwed here, I might be, I might not be. I do have Abundant Growth, so it's probably not that bad. Another reason why I hate Utopia Scroll, because now, if I have it on white and I just drew 2 white lands, then I'm really sad. Though I can't guess Yorion, so I have that going for me. Yorion is not hard to cast at all. Like, you need mana. The colors matter very little. They matter, but yeah. Looks like Ricardo opted not to make a second construct. Probably floating a mana and went and got Mistress Bauble. Could have gotten Cookbook, right? It doesn't look... Maybe he does have a Cookbook in hand. There's another Urza Saga. Just gonna swing in for 3 here? No, for 6, I mean. And I'm gonna take 6. Emery gonna come down. Gonna find 2 lands, an Asmore, and Thought Monitor, looks like. Yeah, I'm surprised Ricardo didn't get Cookbook, though he doesn't have the engine, I suppose. He's gonna use this second saga to maybe reevaluate what he wants to be doing here. I'm not quite sure this tap is going to be a Yorion. Gonna get rebuked. And that's gonna be game. I have nothing going on, and Ricardo can just untap and swing for lethal, I think. Yeah. Alright, GG.